It seems like the people who are the most successful right now in media are those who are the most disingenuous. You buy fake traffic, people will believe you're successful, and they'll believe this is what people want. It has just been revealed that several large digital media publishers were buying fake traffic. It is assumed that this fake traffic was meant to fill up numbers for ad campaigns. So one way that these companies make money, one way that I make money on YouTube, is through ads. And some of these systems are automated. If you see an ad on my channel, a fraction of that ad revenue goes to me, it's bought through an auction, there's not really a person-to-person exchange. However, for larger digital media publishers, they might actually have deals where they promise a certain number of views in exchange for a certain amount of money. I once dealt with a company that sold 500,000 views over 1 month for a fixed price, and they were desperate to fill that order in any way possible. And it would seem now that one of those ways is to buy fake traffic, or at least according to BuzzFeed News, unwittingly buy fake traffic. The story from BuzzFeed News, Funny or Die, Bustle, and a bunch of other publishers unwittingly bought fake traffic. Fake traffic was sent to pages containing ads for JP Chase, Visa, Amazon, KFC, and other big brands. We don't take this sort of thing lightly, a JP Morgan spokesperson told BuzzFeed News. Now, before going further, I want to stop right here and say BuzzFeed News added the word unwittingly, and that is a bit of an editorialization. We know that they did buy fake traffic. We don't know if they did it intentionally or if it was an accident, in which case unwittingly should not be included in the title, but let's carry on with the story. It starts with Aussie.com, a news site that's raised more than $35 million in funding from high-profile investors. It published a group of articles in an ongoing series about how companies and entrepreneurs are trying to be a positive force in their communities. The content was created as a part of a partnership with JP Chase, whose logo appears on each article. The stories appeared to be a big hit. Between May and October, the sponsored content ranked among Aussie's most viewed articles, according to traffic data from analytics service SimilarWeb. It's the kind of success a publisher and brand would celebrate, except that the vast majority of the traffic to the articles was in fact fraudulent, according to ad industry standards. Those stories, as well as other Aussie articles that carried ads from Amazon and Visa, received traffic that was purchased and delivered via a system that automatically loads specific web pages and redirects traffic between participating websites to quickly rack up views without any human action. So what happens when you make a deal to deliver a set amount of views over a set amount of time for a set price and you can't deliver those views? Well, often companies will go to services that promise to promote their content and generate traffic. Sometimes they claim it's real, it's vetted, and they actually are defrauding the media publisher who doesn't realize it's fake traffic. But I believe that, in my opinion, the people working for these large media companies are not that naive, and they know full well that this traffic coming to their site is fake. Illegitimate traffic sourcing occurs when a publisher pays a traffic supplier for a fixed number of visits to their website, said a recent white paper about ad fraud published by the Alliance for Audited Media. Publishers often buy traffic at the end of the month or quarter to make its numbers. Traffic sellers often promise the publisher that the traffic is human and will pass through all ad fraud detection filters. The BuzzFeed News article identifies a few companies. We have Aussie, we have Funny or Die, we have the Bustle Digital Group, and we have PC Mag, as well as CNHI. I know many people in marketing. I used to work in fundraising, which overlapped with the marketing department. When you are fundraising for nonprofits, sometimes they want to put on events to market the nonprofit as well as raise money for it, so we worked in tandem. I assure you, most people I know that work in marketing know full well when you buy traffic, it is fake. When you buy followers, they are fake. Of course, these services are going to claim they're real. But if they're going to claim that these are actual human views, why do they need to then tell you they will pass fraud detection filters? That would seem to imply that there is a potential that you're buying traffic that might not, or to imply that people would assume the traffic isn't actually genuine and it would need to bypass these fraud filters. Now, most of the publishers that appear in the BuzzFeed News article claim that they're no longer working with these fake news suppliers. But this leads me to the bigger problem, something that I've talked about for a long time. And that is that our world is fake. The squeaky wheel gets the grease is a saying that goes around quite often. And when you look at social media and you look at these complaints, often all of our attention is focused on the squeaky wheel. I just read some story about a potential protest, a Confederate rally that's going to happen in Memphis, and the local media is drumming it up like this could be serious when there's only a few thousand people who have liked the Facebook page. So if you're loud enough, even if no one knows who you are or you're not important, you're going to get a lot of attention. And this is why a lot of digital media publishers have decided to go with mission-driven storytelling. Because if they're loud enough, they can generate traffic. If they make people angry, something I've talked about quite a bit. But another technique is just to fake it. We see journalists buying fake followers. We see news organizations buying fake traffic. There are so many tricks to make it seem like these companies are successful and they're relevant when they're not. And this is where it gets particularly scary. A company that is mission-driven, that wants to generate traffic by pushing a political narrative at the expense of another political faction, like you'll see the left constantly attacking the right and the right constantly attacking the left, is going to create a hard divide. The divide has existed for a while, but it's getting crazier and crazier, to the point where people are referring to what's going on as the cultural civil war. So what then happens when these companies that claim to represent a generation, claim to represent a certain demographic, start buying traffic to make it seem like they have a larger audience than they really do? Well, advertisers and big companies, sponsors of media, actually start believing that these squeaky wheels are legitimate voices of the average people. They start allocating a lot of money in these directions, and they plan or cancel events and promotions based on these squeaky wheels. When I assure you, the average person right now cares more about Game of Thrones than they do about any of this political nonsense. But there is a side effect that does bleed out into the larger communities. As these squeaky wheels get louder and louder and louder, and they buy fake traffic to prove to big brands and other publishers that they're legitimate, you start seeing journalists with hundreds of thousands of followers, but they can't get a single retweet. And then these digital ad buyers, these advertisers, think these people actually have a following and sponsor them. That's where the narrative starts going. It seems like the people who are the most successful right now in media are those who are the most disingenuous. You buy fake traffic, people will believe you're successful, and they'll believe this is what people want. You push mission-driven storytelling, extremist politics to rile anger and rouse emotions in people to get more traffic, and you buy fake followers so that people think you're relevant. And then once you convince everyone around you that you are, they start espousing the same message as you out of fear that they will be in the out group. And this is creating a massive divide, something that people refer to as the cultural civil war. Certainly, it's not the only reason for the cultural civil war, but it is certainly a huge factor. The media is one of the biggest problems. The desperate need to try and build a massive audience and the willingness to fake your traffic, to buy fake traffic, to buy fake followers, to prove that you're somehow relevant, is making people think this crazy nonsense actually is what people want. Back in October, Foreign Policy published a story that said what a new U.S. civil war might look like. Following an earlier 2017 survey, Foreign Policy's Best Defense blog opened a poll about the likelihood of a second U.S. civil war. The article goes on to say that it's not going to be two institutionalized factions wielding state militaries against each other along prescribed strategic fronts. It's more going to be sporadic, different pockets, different ideologies, and skirmishes happening across the country. Kind of like what we started seeing in 2017 at these free speech rallies. Is it possible this stuff continues into 2018? I think it's very likely, especially as these problems worsen. But I will add, with BuzzFeed News exposing these kinds of practices, hopefully more companies will emerge and see the opportunity at exposing this nonsense, tackling the fake news and tackling the fake traffic to prove that these people really are the squeaky wheels and that they typically tend to manipulate people in order to generate traffic and make money. Now, that's just my opinion. I'm not accusing anybody of anything. Don't sue me. The scariest thing about this Foreign Policy article is that at the end it says, to Foreign Policy's poll, my gut says the likelihood of a second US civil war in the next 5 years is between 20 and 40%, but trending upward significantly. And their poll is from March 7th, 2017. Will we have a second civil war? You tell me. What are the chances of another civil war breaking out in this country in the next 10 to 15 years? I asked a group of smart national security thinkers that question the other day over my wild boar burger at Austin's Daidu. I was surprised that the range of answers ran from 5% to 95%. I would say the consensus was about 35%. When I read the tweets from some of these partisans, when I see the fake news coming out day after day, I really do believe that we are coming to a dangerous point, I suppose. You know, I tweeted about Magic the Gathering. This is a game I've played for a while. Actually, let me grab something for you. This is my Alpha Bolt. This is my Magic the Gathering Alpha Lightning Bolt. It's just one of many cards I have in my collection. Lightning Bolt is kind of an iconic card in Magic the Gathering. It's a relic of a time long since past. It's not the most valuable card in the world, certainly not. There's a group of cards called the Power 9, but I'm not going to get into all that crazy stuff about Magic the Gathering. The reason I'm bringing it up is because this is a card game. It's a fantasy card game, and I play it with my friends to get away from everything. You know, after all is said and done with the craziness of the world and the fighting in the streets, I just want to go to my buddy's house, play some cards, you know, have some good food, watch some movies. I don't really drink, but my buddies will have beers. Magic, it's compared, like my friends call it kind of like poker and chess combined. You have a bunch of cards, you're trying to figure out what your opponent's going to do, and it's a strategy game. It's fun. I go to card shops and participate in some events. Friday Night Magic, maybe play some Commander. Commander's a certain kind of Magic the Gathering deck format, play format. And now it's cultural civil war all over again. I don't want to get into the story about Magic and the fight between the two factions, but people are calling it Magic Gate. They're basically saying it's like Gamergate. And now you've got one guy who's in the Magic community accused of harassing another person, and he's been banned. The one place I really didn't expect the cultural civil war to bleed out into was my silly fantasy card game. But sure enough, here we are with Wizards of the Coast, the company behind Magic the Gathering, putting out a bunch of rules and stepping into the cultural civil war. Now, I don't think it matters too much. I can still play cards with my friends, and I'm going to ignore a lot of the community politics and the shops, which sucks for the shops, but it is what it is. But the point is, the cultural civil war has continued to infect other areas over the past several years, and it's only seemingly getting worse, with people drawing the lines, choosing sides, and refusing to believe anything coming from other sources, and everyone is desperately trying to smear everyone else as an enemy, as a Nazi, or as a communist. And it seems like they're just getting crazier and crazier. People on Twitter just flat out lying about me in an attempt to make sure that no one I associate with deserves sympathy. I don't think there's anyone in control. I don't think that there's a great conspiracy. To me, it just looks like I'm sitting back and watching dominoes fall. That this is going to happen. I don't know where the last domino is, and I don't know if it'll fall off the edge of the table, but it seems like with the escalation of violence this year and the continuance, the bleeding out of the cultural civil war into other areas, it's likely that it's just going to get worse. Maybe this is the new normal, and this is as bad as it will be. But maybe next year, when things start getting warmer, the problems will, unfortunately, just get worse. But let me know what you think in the comments below. We'll keep the conversation going. This video started talking about websites that were busted for buying fake traffic. Now, whether or not they did it intentionally, we don't know, but let me know what you think. And then we moved on to how fake news companies are desperately trying to appear relevant, and they're pushing politics in an effort to generate more traffic to appear more relevant, thus creating the illusion of relevance, causing everyone else to fall in line with one of two factions, and thus fake news, mission-driven storytelling is pushing us closer and closer to the second civil war. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen, because that seems pretty extreme to me, but at least according to foreign policy, they ballparked 20 to 40%, which is kind of crazy. And early in the year, they ballparked 35%. What do you think's going to happen? 2018 is just on the horizon. I've got more stories to come, and I'll be exploring some of this fake news, bot traffic that these media companies are buying for in the future. We'll see what happens. If you want to follow me, I'm on Twitter @Timcast. If you'd like to support my work, you can go to timcast.com/donate. Give whatever you'd like or give nothing at all. My videos are always free and available every day at 4 p.m. And make sure you subscribe to my second channel in the description below. It's less relevant, more personal commentary. I don't post there as often as I like to. It's not daily, it's kind of inconsistent, but it is a backup channel. So again, make sure you go to the description, subscribe there. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all tomorrow at 4.